The world has fallen to disease, turning people you used to know into ravenous monsters with a single intention: consume every human still alive or make them one of their own. We called these monsters zombies. Mission log. About 2 months into the unknown disease taking over the world, the HQ of whatever remained of the army has received a distress signal from Raven Creek. Upon establishing comms with the caller, it had become clear that this person in question was Professor Dr. Delilah Brown. Conversing with Dr. Brown revealed that she was working to understand the nature and the origins of this assumed virus. A month after Raven Creek had fallen to the zombies, she was hiding and continuing her work in a central hospital. However, during her autopsy trials, one of the zombies she was working on that had seemed dead at the time woke up and attacked her, leaving her with a nasty bite, as she says. Dr. Brown managed to put together a radio to call for anyone who was still capable of fighting the disease, and she desired to share her findings. However, HQ's answer was quite late. She was very close to succumbing to the disease, so she put together her discoveries and wrote everything she knew into her journal, and stored in a bag. She went radio silent after relaying this information. HQ calculated the risk and deemed that it may be worth acquiring Dr. Brown's journal. This is where I come in. Operative William Burdette. I was to be dropped right outside the danger zone into the woods. HQ didn't have much to spare, so I was to be alone and underprepared for such a mission. I got briefed on the locations of possible resupply points and handed a map with both the objective and the extraction points, which both were on different ends of the map. I gathered my equipment and got ready to head to a mission that might push the limits of my year's worth of training and field experience, which none were about ravenous zombies. I dropped in the designated drop zone, dispatched a welcoming party of 3, and I sorted through my equipment and installed silencers to my guns. Mark the first goal of the mission on my map, which is the Rosewood police station, where I would get the necessary equipment and much needed ammunition. Since I was in the middle of the jungle, I thought there wouldn't be a big population of Zeds, so I started walking up to the road. Short amount of time later, I started to hear voices and growlings of zombies from the forest behind me. Finally, a few started to make their way to me. I realized if I kept walking, I would be late, so I started to run. I thought going into the forest would be safer, but it didn't take long before I realized I was at a disadvantage. Took a break to smoke. And was losing my direction, so I started looking for an opportunity to get back on the road. After a while, I finally saw a building. That meant I was close to my objective. Since it was a big open space, I didn't try to hide my steps and jogged towards the building south of the police station. I arrived around 05:30 PM at a logging camp of sorts. I cleared the 3 buildings in the fenced area. There was a car in good condition, but unfortunately it had no gas. One of the critical objectives of the mission is to find a usable car to get around. I have to move around the entire county to complete the mission after all. After clearing the buildings, I added makeshift curtains to a bedroom that I designated to be my sleeping location. I sat down to have a quick bite and a smoke. Then I went to bed. The attention that this mission brought with it is that the case I'm looking for has more value than my own life due to its possible contents. If this doctor actually found a way to cure the disease, I could possibly be the one guy that stands between the salvation of mankind or the complete disaster of it. That is a bit nerve-wracking, if anything. I was naturally nervous, so I couldn't sleep well. I woke up at around 03:20 in the morning. I didn't want to risk going outside in the dark, so I passed the time by reading a magazine that I found lying around. Close the door and I started to move. The objective is to get to the police station nearby and get any ammo that I can get my hands on. Afterwards, I would have to find a car and start making my way to Raven Creek. I cleared a couple of zombies on the road so that they wouldn't follow me to the station after. It was a little weird to find the area relatively clean. A couple dozen roamed the area, but it wasn't a hassle to take care of them. On the way, I decided to look around in the fire station. I found a spear from a zombie that I killed. Thought it would be funny to use it. I also found medical supplies from the station. Hopefully I will not need them, but you never know. Even a small cut might mean death in this place. Only other useful finding was a fire axe. I moved on afterwards. I cleared around the police station, located a few cars in the parking lot. Got a few magazines from the dead and a baton from a dead officer. I found a master key of the station from the same guy. Got in and located the small armory. I found a couple of boxes of 5.56 and 9mm bullets with a few extra magazines. And a gun cleaning kit for if I ever needed it. In the parking lot I found a car in pretty good condition, with almost a full gas tank. This is a very good find on the first day here. I broke a window to get in and hot-wired it. In the afternoon I started making my way to Raven Creek. This was faster progress than I anticipated. On the road I was already feeling a bit tired, so I don't think it would be a good idea to walk in a city full of monsters half awake. So I decided to clear and sleep in a motel on the road to the city. I methodically cleaned the motel. After making sure it was safe, I sat down for a cigarette and watched the sky. How silent it was. How peaceful it felt, ignoring the needle on my neck, reminding me of the monsters roaming the world. After a bit more contemplation, I went to sleep for the day. Woke up and immediately checked the surroundings. Dealt with a couple that probably followed me here from the road at night. I gathered a few supplies from the small market next door. I topped off the fuel tank with fuel from a barrel full of fuel. Now that's a lot of fuel. Then I left for Raven Creek. I came across a road blockade that was not mentioned in the reports, so I got off to check it out and see if there was a passage into the city. It seemed the area was blocked with high fences. Realizing it was an overrun military blockade, I decided to check it for weapons and ammo. You can never go wrong with more ammo. Clearing the place wasn't too difficult, but they were numerous, and I hope there are at least some useful things for me to get here for all my efforts. There is a military Humvee sitting behind the tents that looks to be in good condition. There was another armored vehicle, but I thought that might be too much for the road ahead. The Humvee was indeed in pretty good condition, so I decided that transferring to this vehicle would be worth the time investment. I filled its tank from my current car. Doing so took the entire day. Jackpot. I found loads of ammo in the tents and got as much as I could carry. Decided to put the spear to test again. It proved to be a useful weapon if I ever needed it. I found a stick grenade in a container. I don't want to use explosives, but I took a few just in case. After looking around a bit more, I retired in one of the medical tents. Next morning I woke up and got to work again. After taking in the inventory, I checked the other tents only to find even more ammo. I found an unusual thing. A goddamn exoskeleton suit. I have no idea why there's such a thing here in a military checkpoint, but hey, maybe helpful along the way, so I took it. It was heavy, but I hope it will be protective in some point. Also, I found a poncho. I look just a little better now, I think. Since there was no entry from here, I went to check a possible opening in this fence that I could go through. I had no luck in the first go, but I found another way in the map that looked more promising. However, I would have to go through the forest some of the way there. It would be difficult driving in this dense tree coverage. There are many dead on the way to make Raven Creek even more welcoming, it seems. After driving for a while, I found a place. A burnt out section of the fence. Looks like an explosion of sorts was responsible. I went in and drove through a tunnel leading to the city. But again, I was deceived thinking that this would be that easy. The road was blocked and there was nothing on the map that would be another way in. I realized there were service tunnels. Possible entry, but I would have to leave the car here and continue on foot. Well, I have no other choice at this point. I took all the ammo and supplies that I could carry and started making my way into the tunnel. I found the keys on a corpse and used it to unlock my way through. was filled with zombies. Luckily, it is not something I cannot handle. After clearing about 24 of them, I made it to the end of the tunnel to a barricade that I could go through. I found another car in working condition, with gas in it. I will be sleeping in it tonight, as it is getting close to dark. I go to sleep early this day so I could go into the city very early and possibly leave it the same day. I want to be here as little as possible. Big city means a lot of corners and a big population, meaning death would be on every corner. One unfortunate mistake and I would become a free buffet for the undead hordes. After a restless night, I made my way to the checkpoint and left the car in front, because it would attract too much attention. Attention is the last thing I want in this place. I made sure my extra magazines were full and started the advance. Since I don't want to draw too much attention, I wanted to go as stealthy as possible. But the checkpoint and the first street was full of zombies that I couldn't go around. So I got the clearing again. After making sure the place was relatively clean, I checked the map. I was going to follow a direct route. It seems to be the best course of action right now. As I was walking, I saw a store, so I got myself a pop from there and enjoyed it before moving on. As I was making progress, I almost got tagged, but my clothing took the hit for me. I thought going from building to building would be a good idea, so I did that. Instead of trying to kill everything, I moved past them where I could. As I was sneaking my way through, I lost my focus for a second and noticed how the city looked. Only 2 months had passed since the disease had taken Knox County, but I already can see green oozing out of the roads and the concrete. It is interesting to think how little time it takes for nature to take hold and normalize stuff in the world, even though It is a nightmare right now for what was the world's most dominant species, which happens to be us. While pushing these thoughts to the background of my mind, I focus on not being noticed by walls. I think I can make it to the hospital today if I can keep this pace up. I am trying to make sure that I am not followed, so when I opened the door to kill what I thought could be only two, I was almost caught by four of them, and almost got tagged again. After luring and killing them upstairs, I had to remind myself that a single bite would be the end of the game for me. It's been only 2 hours in the city, and this is the second time I almost get caught. I arrived at the hospital gates at exactly 03:40 p.m. It was much less populated than I thought it would be, so instead of trying to strategize, I decided to go full force to clear the place, find the objective, and start thinking about exiting. This place looks like a horror show. Wherever I look, I see pools of blood. After inhaling a deep breath of vile stench, I barely stayed focused on the mission. I didn't know where the items would be located, but I imagined there would be a safe room or so. So I moved up, keeping my guard up. Door to door, I searched and killed the zombies that popped up. After moving through the floors, I passed a secure locked door on the second floor, so I returned after finding the keys. Then, I found it. Somehow, the doctor managed to move a generator up here with a radio. There were some medical supplies here and a satchel, which contained the journal, alongside a few vials and a camera. Honestly, I have no idea what they were other than the camera, of course. I bet it has some gruesome footage of her dissecting zombies. Whatever it might be, these were the items. So, I took the satchel and secured it in my pack so the contents wouldn't break and spill. I was planning to exit the city, but upon realizing the time was already 8 p.m., I decided to stay in this room. I moved the stretcher bed in and locked the door because I could still hear zombies in the hospital beating down the doors. Then I sat down to have a bite. In just 5 days, I managed to complete the most important phase of the mission. I had a feeling of comfort for a couple of minutes. I thought to myself, looking at the satchel, whether this might be the way to a cure, saving the world and turning things back the way they were. I think it is impossible at this point, to be honest. Even if someone managed to make a vaccine, most of humanity was still in a shambling horror mode, and I don't think there's a cure for that. Whatever, I have to focus on getting this satchel to the HQ. For that, I have to go to sleep tonight. So, that I did. I woke up before the sun to make my way to the extraction point. I had to reach another hospital in Louisville and hope that I can survive when my transport arrives. A helicopter will make a lot of noise, presumably, attracting half of the hordes in the Louisville, but we'll see. Right now, I have to focus on getting out. This time, since I think the roads will be safer, I will go back the way I came from and try to move fast instead of avoiding and stealthing. Alright, it's time to go. I made my way out of the hospital. I walked through the streets, dispatching any unwelcome parties. I wanted to get out of the city as fast as possible. After a while I got anxious and started to bolt towards the exit. At some point, I took a wrong turn and ended up one street away from the checkpoint, so I had to run between alleyways to make it back to the checkpoint. The place was once again overrun by a smoke. This was the last stop before leaving the city, if you don't count the tunnel and the military checkpoint, that is. I made it back to the blue car that I will be ditching in just a couple minutes to go back to the service tunnels. After reloading my empty mags, I went in. It was completely empty. It seems no zombies made their way in, but still I was cautious. It would be stupid to get bitten by a corner zombie after all this effort. It didn't take long, and I made it back to the other side without a hitch. After securing the satchel, I went ahead. I will have to go back through the same forest area as before. The thing is, I didn't realize till this moment how many zombies were attracted to this area because of my last passage, and I completely forgot how difficult the passage here was. I thought I could just go through the Zeds. I was a mistake. I kept being blocked by trees and the Zeds were not making it easy to find a way. Just one bad decision and here I was surrounded by them. I tried to get out of this godforsaken blockade of trees, but the Humvee was suffering heavy damage. The only option left was to kill all the miscreants and open up the road for the Humvee with an axe, which I had acquired from the Rosewood fire station. So I got my rifle out and ran away a bit from the car, then gladly plucked all the thorns on my side. Got my axe and started chopping trees. Finally, after maneuvering around the trees, I made it back to the road. It seems I have exerted myself quite a bit because I feel a little drowsy, and it is only 2 p.m. As soon as I made it back to the road where there were no zombies, I checked the Humvee's condition. It was not great. The trunk and the hood of the car was smashed to pieces, but luckily the rest of the car was still operable, including the engine. A destroyed hood, however, meant that a single bad turn could potentially destroy the engine. I believe I can manage that. It is definitely better than walking all the way to Louisville. So I got back on and drove to the last objective, the Louisville Central Hospital. After riding for a while, dodging the occasional horde on the way, I felt a bit confident and tried to dodge yet another one. But I crashed into a tree. It wasn't that bad. The engine took a hit but was still open, so I kept on. When I reached Marlboro, I stopped at a bar to swipe a bottle of bourbon to take back to HQ for celebratory reasons. I was thinking that the hard part of this mission was behind me. Since it got dark and I was tired, I decided to take residence in the local warehouse. I went in and put a chair in the toilet since it was the only place that had no line of sight between them and me. Hopefully, I won't be swarmed while I'm sleeping. After an uncomfortable sleep, I woke up really late. It was already 8 a.m. I washed my face with the water in the sink. It looked a bit questionable, but it was refreshing nonetheless. And back on the road. This was a foggy day. I couldn't see a damn thing, but I wanted to make my way. After a while, I came across a roadblock. The road was full of burned and destroyed cars with many zombies around. It saddened me to see such a thing. So many people hope to save themselves and their families, only to die on a road in the middle of nowhere. And if I didn't have any guns, I would probably join them. Now, because once again, I got myself stuck in an impossible portion of the road blocked by many cars. I could see an opening where I could squeeze through, but I have to clean the area first. Look at this. What the hell happened here? So many cars with many dead around them. This must have been a carnage. After a while of driving recklessly and many more zombies later, the road felt like it never ended. Just as the boredom was taking over me, like a dumbass, I crashed the car again, trying to dodge yet another damn zombie. Luckily, I didn't snap my neck. On the other hand, the car was running, but probably with prayers instead of mechanical integrity at this point. It was beaten into a pulp. There were only a couple of hours left until I reached my destination, so I kept on, but my eyes were on the dashboard, hoping that the engine wouldn't fail. But if it did, I wouldn't blame it at this point. Finally, made it to a military checkpoint. After clearing the area, I decided to look around a bit. At this point, I don't know why, but I got even more ammo. After realizing the time, I got moving again. Going over, I tried to be extra careful not to bump into anything. Carefully making my way, I finally managed to get to the hospital before dark. I didn't want to lose any time, so I started clearing the hospital. Once I called the extraction helicopter to my position, all the zombies in the area would be alerted to my location, so I wanted to make sure the area was as clear as possible. But this would prove to be a difficult job. After clearing the stragglers and making sure I had enough ammo on me, I wore the exoskeleton suit that I found, and got to it. I shot the ones I could see, and shouting about, I attracted the ones deeper into the building. I could already see that there were likely hundreds, and this would take longer than expected. It was already dark, making me more vulnerable, for I could not see nor sense as good as the zombies, it seems. Instead of trying to clear the building through the night, I made the riskiest decision this whole campaign. I decided that I would sleep in my car in front of the hospital. Locking the doors and hoping that I wouldn't be swarmed in the morning. I woke up to a single zombie knocking on the window. I pushed it as I exited the car and shot it in the face. This is the day. This is the day that I would escape this dreaded place. Before going in, I took as much as I could carry. I didn't want to search the entire building in hopes that maybe I could just slip by, so that I could potentially lead them to a single corridor that I could easily shoot without being surrounded. But the plan was sloppy at best, so it did not work as I hoped it would. The designated landing zone is the roof of the hospital, 3 floors up. This would be a big slaughter day. skip the floor in hopes of getting to the roof quickly, but again my plans were hindered by hundreds of enemies. The plan about clearing the hospital went out the window at this point. This whole plan was a mess. I finally found a way up. It was almost dark outside. Extraction would be a bit more difficult, I thought, but manageable. So I finally gave this signal reporting that the objective was secured. The team reported that it would take about 3 hours to get to my position. And at this time, what I had feared the most came upon me. Zombies that had been blocked by many doors and corridors had finally found their way to me. Hordes started pouring in, and it's only getting worse. As if it wasn't already hard enough, rain started pouring. And with the dark, I simply am losing visual every second. So I have to defend against this many with even more disadvantages. Well, I kept firing my gun into the seemingly unending horde enemy. The helicopter arrived around the 2-hour mark, but the weather and the increasing number of the dead made it impossible for it to land. They reported that they were going to take position to drop a ladder and started circling around. At this point, the only light I had was of thunder, striking every now and then. I was losing hope quickly. Finally, they came back and dropped the ladder, but it was right in the middle of a hole that I could barely make it. Made it. The team waiting on the helicopter pulled me in as they started checking me for bites and other damages. I went for the satchel and checked the contents to make sure they were not damaged. Rain had made its way, but it was mostly undamaged. I gave it to the next person, stripped down my armor, and took a half-soaked cigarette from my pack. As I lit the cigarette, I took a look down to the ravaged city. It is finally over. At least for now, I thought. Hopefully, this would be the start of the end of the disease.